Fat Joe said that.
Fat Joe's a
lean back.
We've been leaning back for 20 years, man. Like,
he said you crowned yourself the rat leader and you wrote the 48 laws of snitching.
For sure. How did you feel after warning Tekashi? Because I saw it when you sat with him. And I was like, Joe is trying to put him on right now, and I don't think he's getting it.
I'm going to just be honest with you. You know, some of these guys got to take a boat ride, never come back. Sammy the Bull is the most famous rat on the earth. Sammy the Bull. Then you came Alpo.
Fat Joe has never been one to hold his tongue. But what he said about 6ix9ine might have just reignited one of the rap game's most unpredictable rivalries. For over 2 decades, Joe's been the self-proclaimed real one from the Bronx, a man who built his rep on loyalty, street codes, and authenticity. So when he labeled Tekashi 6ix9ine the rat leader, it wasn't just an insult. It was a declaration that 6ix9ine no longer belonged in hip-hop's inner circle. But here's where it gets wild. 6ix9ine wasn't about to take that lying down. After years of being called a snitch, a fraud, and a disgrace to rap culture, he's back. And this time, he's pointing the finger right back at Fat Joe. Because according to Tekashi, Joe's real one image is nothing but a lie. And what he's about to expose could rewrite how fans see one of hip-hop's biggest OGs.
Damn, you went there?
Yeah, I went there.
This is a sucker. He's a sucker.
So let me get,
Okay.
pump another bottle man.
No, I ain't drink. I'm dead sober.
Yeah.
No, I'm dead sober. This dude here, this type of shit, this doing, I'm convinced he wanna die. I don't wish it on him or nothing like that, but I'm convinced he's miserable in his body. He can't look in the mirror. Nah, I don't know if he gotta be. He's a lot of
He just got knocked.
So now the man snitch, right? Cool, do you, whatever.
How did you know that?
I don't like the taunting. I try to tell him, like, what happens? Like, yo, bro, listen, I didn't know if he really did it. I didn't know what was going on. The crazy is when I talked to him in that interview.
That line hit different. 6ix9ine wasn't just clapping back. He was questioning everything Fat Joe built his name on. For years, Joe has painted himself as a man molded by the Bronx, by struggle, by loyalty to the code. But when 6ix9ine said, "You've been industry safe your whole life," he was doing something few dared to do, calling out one of New York's veterans as someone who never truly lived what he preached. It wasn't random either. 6ix9ine's been on a mission to reclaim control of his narrative. After the trials, the backlash, and the exile from hip-hop circles, this was his chance to flip the story, to turn the same people who judged him into suspects themselves. And for the first time in years, Fat Joe looked like the one on defense. The streets started whispering, fans started revisiting old interviews, and the question hanging in the air was simple. Was Fat Joe's real image always an illusion? Because if Tekashi was telling the truth, the Bronx might not be ready for what's coming next.
the rat leader, he crowned himself as the cap leader. He didn't rob no 50 at no gym. That nigga, yo, bro, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Which one's my camera? That one?
Yeah.
This one? That one? Yeah, Fat Joe, you're a like you're a I'm not even gonna lie, you're a captain of the cap. Like nobody believe, even your co-host who's Jadakiss don't believe you. Every time you say a cap, that like like, but like I said, you gonna go
flag, like
and
flag on the play.
And my next song, I even say I be spitting so much facts that I make jokes to distract. That's the next bar in my song. Don't like the truth, so y'all make jokes to distract. We know this lying, right? All right, yo, listen to me. Listen.
But there's
to
a lot
me.
of people that say he ain't lying.
He ain't lying.
Yeah.
All right, which one's my camera? If Fat Joe is not lying, the next person on the Dancing Project, bring Big Pun's son. Bring Big Pun's son on the Dancing Project. Welcome back,
Chris Rivers.
Welcome back, y'all. Let's skip this clip. Watch when he see this clip, he gonna hit up. Yo, Chris, don't do that. How much money you need? out of here. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, you just said a lot. You just said a lot.
Break Big Pun's son. Even on the verses, remember when he was facing Ja Rule?
Yeah.
And they said, don't play that shit. That's Big Pun. Don't do that. Don't do what, fat bitch? You talk.
Now this was personal. 6ix9ine was not just firing shots online, he was peeling back private conversations. That moment he described, a sit-down between him and Fat Joe, wasn't just small talk. It was one of those rare behind-the-scenes meetings where reputations collide. Joe had once played mentor, offering Tekashi advice about staying out of trouble, about leaving the chaos behind. But now 6ix9ine was framing that same man as a hypocrite, someone who preaches peace in private, then performs righteousness in public. It's a classic industry contradiction. When cameras roll, loyalty gets replaced by image management. And the most dangerous thing about 6ix9ine, he remembers everything, every word, every warning, every look, and now he was using it all as ammunition. The question wasn't just whether Joe betrayed Tekashi, it was whether he ever meant a single word he said that day.
Yo, what's the event in hip-hop that broke the camel's back? Pause. To make it to where you could snitch. And if you make good music or something, you could still live out here in hip-hop. Like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back in hip-hop, where we had a code and there is no code no more? There just isn't no code no more. And what do you think is the event that, I remember growing up, even if you was fronting, you wasn't a real gangster, but you was spitting gangster rap. You wasn't with the rats like that. Right now, this
too many of them
sold out concerts.
I don't think you can escape them. They all around. They're like New York City rats. Humans. It's rats everywhere. And everywhere is everywhere,
Too many Fredos, not enough Michaels.
That's a fact.
That line hit like a confession wrapped in defiance. Tekashi wasn't bragging, he was drawing a line between survival and hypocrisy. For him, it was never about being accepted by the old guard. It was about proving he didn't need their cosign to win. Every time Fat Joe, or anyone else from that era, tried to remind him of the rules, Tekashi saw it as a power play, a reminder that they wanted to control the narrative, control who gets crowned real and who gets exiled. But the truth? 6ix9ine broke the system, and that's what bothers them most. He's an artist who exposed how fragile hip-hop's moral code really is. The code says, loyalty is everything, until it costs you fame. The code says, keep it real, but only if it doesn't hurt your brand. Tekashi flipped all that upside down. He didn't just survive breaking the rules, he thrived doing it. And that's what makes men like Fat Joe uncomfortable. Because if a rat can outlive the real ones, what does that say about the game itself?
Some of these guys got to take a boat ride, never come back. Sammy the Bull is the most famous rat on the earth. Sammy the Bull. Then you came Alpo, guy everybody looked up to, charismatic, Harlem fly, Louis Vuitton, this, that, Told. He did that, right?
Shout out to Wayne Perry and Wayne Perry Jr.
Then, in hip-hop, the day 6ix9ine sat on that stand.
Yo.
No!
Man.
You remember, if you're watching the story, they taking him to court in bulletproof vests. They acting like he was telling on El Chapo. He put a lot of good people in jail, man.
No, we got to put him away till his time.
Yo,
my feeling is going to get close.
You feeling this?
I feel his time has come. I feel his time is going to be soon, though.
We're going to need a lot.
Yeah.
Does it not matter no more? And I believe 6ix9ine, when he gave guys 20 years in jail. All the guys, he was like, but he fucked my wife. But he did. That means nothing. There's a man that works in a bodega that never been a criminal in his life, see some shit.
This was where Tekashi's words stopped being entertainment and started becoming uncomfortable truth. The code that rappers built their reputations on was supposed to be sacred. Loyalty, brotherhood, no cooperation with authorities. But when Tekashi flipped that mirror back on the industry, what he was really exposing was the double standard that keeps the machine running. behind closed doors, most of the so-called street kings aren't living by the same code they sell in their lyrics. They're signing contracts that silence them, shaking hands with executives they once claimed to hate, smiling in photos with the same systems they built their personas against. 6ix9ine's defiance isn't just noise, it's rebellion, a refusal to play the polite, controlled version of the industry game. That's why so many older rappers despise him, not just for snitching, but for surviving it. Because every time Tekashi reminds people that the real ones aren't as real as they claim, the whole foundation of hip-hop credibility starts to crack.
I talked to him off the air, and he lied to me and told me, yo, this is just an image, I'm fronting this and this and that. He told me that in front of Shotty and them. They were standing right there with him.
He said, what?
Joe, he
This is
told
just
me
an
that he was
image.
lying.
He said image.
Yo, Joe, I'm not really doing this. I'm not a gangster. You know, this is all for like promotion. I got it. At that point, I said, so you're not doing nothing because you're going to go to jail if you're really doing stuff.
Right.
Nah, Joe, I don't do nothing.
And that's where the conversation stopped being about music and became about image. Tekashi was pulling back the curtain on Fat Joe's transformation, the part most fans never question. Joe's evolution from street rapper to media personality has been smooth, almost too smooth. The interviews, the talk shows, the polished demeanor, all of it turned him into one of hip-hop's respected voices. But respect comes at a cost. What 6ix9ine was suggesting wasn't slander, it was exposure. He was saying that Fat Joe no longer speaks for the streets because he doesn't live by them anymore. He's corporate now, the type who moves carefully, builds alliances, and never says anything that might cost him a sponsorship. In Tekashi's world, that's worse than snitching, because while a snitch breaks the code out of desperation, a politician bends it for comfort. And when Joe heard that, insiders say it hit deep because 6ix9ine was not wrong. He just said the quiet part out loud.
We find ourselves in situations like Liza Rios has with Joe Cartagena, Fat Joe, where, you know, you got to file a lawsuit to figure out what actually happened and to find out where is the money. So today, although Fat Joe's lawyers originally filed an answer in the case, they subsequently filed a motion to dismiss, as did Jelly's Jams, not claiming that they don't owe any money, but just making technical legal arguments that basically saying that Liza can't sue them for one reason or another. We feel pretty good about the hearing. There was a hearing that took place today, oral arguments for our side and for Jelly's Jams and Fat Joe to talk about why we believe that they should be kept in this case and why we believe that they basically had fiduciary duties, meaning a higher standard than a breach of contract standard, to pay Liza monies that were due her husband so that her family can benefit. You asked if it was a rehashing. Well, in some ways it's the same issue. The big question is, where's the money, right? So, and there's some new information has come to light just of late that is setting some light on what happened to the money. And so that's really why this lawsuit is being filed now. You know, over time, you know, you're supposed to get royalties twice a year or whatever, and most of the time the accounts are saying they're unrecouped. So when an artist is getting statements that say they're unrecouped, there's really no reason for them to think that there should be money there. Right. In this particular case, we found the reason to believe that there really should be some more money there. And that is that we found out that in foreign territories overseas, that the writer splits are not properly reflected for the songs the way they should have been, and that's indicating that there was some money that was collected there that shouldn't have been collected. So that's where we're after. We're trying to pursue that. Actually, the important thing is that now artists are also getting paid for that money. ASCAP and BMI, the traditional, societies that collect money for songwriters, have been able to collect money for those streaming services.
And right there, that's where Tekashi's tone shifted. The anger faded, replaced by something colder, more measured. It wasn't rage anymore, it was disappointment. Beneath all the chaos, he was calling out something simple, the selective honesty that defines fame. When he said, "Don't pick and choose when it's convenient," that line cut through the noise. Because in today's rap game, authenticity isn't just rare, it's performative. Artists preach realness until it interferes with their image, or their endorsements, or their friendships with the very people they once called fake. Tekashi's point wasn't just about Joe. It was about the system that rewards imitation more than truth. He lost everything: his crew, his credibility, his peace. And yet, somehow, his name never disappeared. Love him or hate him, he stayed relevant in a culture that eats its own. And that's what Fat Joe and the rest can't ignore. 6ix9ine might have broken every rule in the book, but the book still can't erase him. He said it plain: I don't got no hate for Joe. But the calm in his voice almost made it more dangerous, because when a man like 6ix9ine stops yelling, it's not peace, it's precision. He was done arguing for respect. Now he was dissecting it. Every word carried the weight of someone who's already been buried and still walked out alive. That's what people forget. You can't cancel somebody who already lost everything. And that's the part that terrifies the industry most about Tekashi. He has nothing left to lose, and that makes his truth harder to silence. Behind the cameras, that clip hit more than Joe. It echoed through circles that pretend they've moved past street politics. Because the moment 6ix9ine said, "Don't pick and choose when it's convenient," it stopped being a diss. It became a statement on how fake loyalty runs this game. You could almost feel the discomfort ripple through the timeline. OGs went quiet. Younger artists looked around. Nobody wanted to publicly side with Tekashi, but deep down, some of them understood exactly what he meant. They've seen it. The double faces, the quiet betrayals that happen over handshakes and hidden deals. See, Fat Joe represents an era, the last generation of rappers who built their respect brick by brick before algorithms decided who mattered. But what happens when a kid like Tekashi comes along, breaks every rule, and still wins? It doesn't fit the old formula. It exposes the flaw. And that's the tension right there. Old school honor versus modern survival. One side preaches loyalty, the other side plays chess with the same system that betrayed them. Neither side's clean, but both are convinced they're right. After that video dropped, insiders say Joe didn't respond immediately. He stayed quiet, which in hip-hop says everything. Because silence isn't weakness, it's calculation. Joe knows how fast narratives move. He's seen beefs ruin legacies. But this one was different. It wasn't just about who's tougher or who's realer. It was about identity. Who gets to define what being a real one even means in 2025? And the truth is, that definition keeps changing. Back in the day, being real meant something simple. You stood on what you said. No cameras, no PR cleanup, just action. But now, real has become a brand. It's a filter, a storyline, a way to market authenticity to audiences who crave chaos but can't stomach the consequences. That's what 6ix9ine was getting at, even if he didn't say it outright. He's not just fighting Fat Joe, he's fighting the illusion that the industry built, the idea that realness can be controlled, packaged, and sold. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, other artists started distancing themselves. Joe's team, aware of the online tension, began quietly managing optics, pushing his podcast, highlighting his community work, pivoting the public image back toward positivity. But that only made Tekashi's point louder, because the more Joe looked polished, the less believable the street legend title sounded. The contrast became the story, one man fighting to maintain legacy, the other burning his just to prove a point. And somewhere in the middle of all that, fans started asking questions. Who's actually keeping it real anymore? The gangsters who sign brand deals? The rebels who work with the same cops they used to rap against? Or the outcasts who tell you every messy truth, even when it makes them hated? There's no easy answer. And that's exactly why people keep watching. By week 2, clips of the back and forth had hit every blog, every reaction channel, every corner of YouTube commentary. But what stood out wasn't the insult, it was the shift. For the first time, people were starting to see 6ix9ine not just as a troll, but as someone holding a mirror to the industry that abandoned him. Because behind the rainbow hair and chaos, there's a strategy. 6ix9ine understands media better than most rappers understand their own lyrics. He doesn't react, he engineers reactions. Every post, every insult, every live is a move in a game the rest of them don't even realize they're playing. And that's where Fat Joe made a mistake, thinking this was a traditional beef. It's not. It's an algorithmic war, a war of attention. And Tekashi's been fighting that battle since the day he came home. When Joe said, "We've been leaning back for 20 years, he thought he was talking legacy. But Tekashi turned that legacy into a liability, reminding everyone that hip-hop's elders have become institutions, and institutions eventually lose touch with the streets that built them. It's not disrespect, it's evolution. Every generation has to challenge the last, even if it gets messy. And for 6ix9ine, this is bigger than Fat Joe. He's using Joe as a symbol, a warning to the gatekeepers who believe they still decide who's valid. Because every time he speaks, no matter how outrageous, the numbers prove something simple. The audience still listens. But that doesn't mean everyone's siding with him. Some say Tekashi's just trying to stay relevant, feeding off drama to mask the absence of hits. Others argue he's saying what most are too afraid to. Either way, he's forcing the conversation. And in hip-hop, controlling the conversation is more powerful than winning the argument. As the dust settles, one truth remains. Authenticity in this game is complicated. You can be loved for being fake and hated for being honest. You can do time and still be doubted, or snitch and still sell out shows. The code people quote only applies when it benefits them. And that's what makes moments like this so revealing. Fat Joe's silence says more than 1,000 interviews could. Because if he claps back, he validates Tekashi's point. If he ignores it, people assume he's hiding something. Either way, the damage is done. The real one label will never feel as solid again. The irony? Both men built their names off being outsiders. Joe fighting to earn respect in an era that didn't want to give it. Tekashi fighting to keep relevance in one that wanted him gone. Different battles, same loneliness. And maybe that's the tragedy of hip-hop's evolution. The same culture that celebrates survival also punishes it. The same fans who demand truth are the first to weaponize it. It's a cycle that never ends. Loyalty until betrayal, silence until exposure, respect until it's no longer convenient. In the end, maybe Tekashi wasn't trying to destroy Joe. Maybe he was holding up a mirror, forcing the game to look at what it's become. A place where being real is marketing and being loud is power. And that's the part nobody wants to admit. Because if he's right, then the very definition of authenticity, the backbone of hip-hop, is already gone. So the real question isn't who's fake or who's real. It's who's left when the performance ends. Was Fat Joe wrong for flipping the script? Or was Tekashi right to expose it? You decide. And don't go anywhere. Click the next video you see on your screen for even more juicy celebrity chaos, betrayals, and stories Hollywood doesn't want you to know. See you in the next one.